Falling behind on your bills? It's frustrating when all the financial experts give budgeting advice that completely ignores your reality. Cutting up your credit cards? Skipping lattes? That's not going to fix the fact that you need cash right now and fast. And I've been in this situation, so I get it. If you have that sinking feeling in your gut because the bills are piling up and the due dates are coming in faster than your paycheck, don't give up. You can get back on track, and it doesn't have to mean sacrificing everything that makes life enjoyable. Today, we're talking about real strategies that actually work when you're behind on bills. And let's start with the first thing, which is to get clear on what absolutely has to be paid first and what can wait. Not all bills are equal, and when you're short on cash, prioritization is everything. Hey everyone, I'm Rose Colburn, and I'm here to help you take control of your personal finances so you can create a life you truly love. And part of that means giving you real solutions that work in tough situations like this without all the fluff or out-of-touch advice. So today we're focusing on 5 practical budgeting strategies to help you catch up on bills and regain control of your money, even when it feels like you're drowning. When you're already behind, most budgeting advice just doesn't cut it, but there are real practical steps you can take right now to stop feeling overwhelmed and actually start moving forward. And this video is going to dig into some of the hard steps that are sometimes necessary to salvage your budget when you're behind on bills. And not every strategy will fit your exact situation, but even if one piece of advice helps, it could be the breakthrough you need. So stick around to the end because this video could completely transform your financial situation. I know what it's like to struggle. Being self-employed, there were a lot of times when I didn't bring in enough clients to cover the bills on time. No matter what I did, it never felt like enough. I remember facing some situations where even if I signed up a client on Monday, I wouldn't get paid before the electric bill was due on Wednesday. And when the money did come in, I'd pay one bill only to have another one already past due. One month in particular, I remember I had just enough to pay the electric bill, but not enough to fill up the propane tank for the furnace. That was a tight spot. If the electric got shut off, we'd have no heat anyway, even with propane. And everything in the house ran on electricity. The stove, the water heater, even the pump for the well, since we lived out in the country. So I paid the electric bill and just kind of crossed my fingers, hoping we wouldn't run out of propane before the next client payment came through. When you're in a tight spot, having a plan, even a simple one, makes all the difference. It's not about fixing everything overnight. It's about knowing what to focus on first so you can stop playing catch up and start making progress. And that's why step 1 is figuring out what absolutely has to be paid first and what can wait. When money is tight, the goal is not to pay off every single bill. It's about stabilizing your finances and stabilizing your situation so you can work your way back to solid ground. And that means focusing on the essentials first: housing, transportation, food, and utilities. Ask yourself, what can you do to make sure your rent or mortgage is covered, your lights stay on, and you're able to get to work? If possible, delay or negotiate other bills to make sure these are covered first. Everything else, credit cards, loans, subscriptions, they all take a back seat for now. When you are behind on your bills, you think that the whole world's against you, but you have more power than you think because many companies would rather work with you than risk having you default, but they won't offer help unless you ask. Don't start paying everything from a place of fear and panic. Take a moment to breathe. Take control of your situation with small, intentional decisions. This alone can give you the breathing room you need until more money comes in. And once you have the essentials covered, the next step is stopping the financial leaks. When money is tight, every dollar counts. And if you're already behind, you can't afford to let money slip through the cracks. A lot of people get stuck in the trap of trying to catch up. but their money keeps disappearing faster than they can get ahead. And here's the thing, it's not usually the big expenses that trip you up. It's those little charges that fly under the radar. It's when you open up your banking app and expect to see an extra 20 bucks, but it's gone, and you just shrug it off. Or when you see that subscription charge and think, I really need to cancel that, only to forget about it 5 minutes later. Before you even think about stretching your next paycheck, take a hard look at where your money is actually going. Check your bank statements, look for auto pay charges, and be brutally honest about what's essential and what's just something a little extra. This is one of the biggest reasons people feel like they can never catch up. It's not always the big bills that push you further behind. It's the small, hidden expenses that can drain your bank account before you even notice. When money is tight, every dollar needs a job. Pay attention to the expenses that can fluctuate, like gas, groceries, household items. You don't have to cut everything to the bone, but you do need to be intentional. Ask yourself, where can I adjust? Where am I spending without thinking? Then put a plan into action until you can get caught up. Because here's the truth. Small leaks sink big ships. Plugging up those financial leaks frees up money that can actually go toward catching up on bills instead of slipping through your fingers. At this point, you might be looking at what's left and realize it's still just not enough. And I'll be honest with you, cutting back can only take you so far. At some point, you're just going to have to bring in some extra money, even if it's just for a short amount of time. Now, the typical advice from the so-called experts, get a second job, pick up extra shifts, work more. And sure, if that's an option for you, great. But for some people, for a lot of people, it's just not realistic, especially if you're already stretched thin. The good news, you don't need to add another job to your life. You just need to bring in some extra quick cash without adding more stress. First of all, take a look around your home and see what you can sell. I know, it sucks. I've been there, and it's not fun. But if you're in a tight spot, a small sacrifice now can relieve some of the pressure. Even an extra 50 to 100 bucks might be just enough to put money down on a payment arrangement and stop a bill from going to collections. And at this point, if you need more, you might have to consider gig work or a short-term side hustle. And I'll be honest, this is not a quick fix. Between the approval process, starting the work, and getting your first check, it might take longer than you have. But if your bills aren't at the critical stage yet, this could be the option that you need to stay ahead. And the best part is, you can usually start and stop whenever you need to with these things. And finally, some employers offer early paycheck access programs. Now, this is not the best long-term solution because you're really borrowing against your future paycheck, which means you'll have even less to work with next time. But if it's the difference between falling further behind or keeping the lights on, it might be an option worth considering. Just use it carefully. When you bring in extra money, no matter what strategy you use, you need to make sure you're using it in the most effective way possible. That means having a plan before the money even hits your bank account. One of the biggest mistakes people make when they're behind in bills, it's reactive spending. It's that constant cycle of scrambling to put out financial fires instead of making intentional decisions. And the problem is, when you're always in survival mode, it's easy to let money slip through your fingers without realizing it. So before your next paycheck arrives, decide exactly where it needs to go. Look at your bills. Break them down. What's urgent? What can wait? Instead of treating it as one overwhelming mountain, tackle it in smaller steps. Cover the essentials first, just like we talked about earlier. Once one priority is handled, move on to the next. And here's something that might sound crazy. I know I said that every dollar needs to have a job. Part of that means setting aside even a tiny bit for yourself. I know when money is tight, that can feel completely unreasonable. But here's the truth. Burnout leads to bad financial decisions. Even something as small as $5 for a coffee or a small treat can make a huge difference in your mindset. For me, it was a 99-cent fountain drink and a Kit Kat from Quick Trip. And yeah, I felt guilty at first. But let's be real, that $3 wasn't going to magically pay off my propane bill. What it did was give me a moment to breathe, which makes it easier to stay on track financially. By having a plan before your money lands in your account, you stop playing defense and start taking control, one decision at a time. When the past due notices start piling up faster than snowdrifts in Minnesota, it's tempting to throw every single extra dollar at your bills just to keep your head above water, or the snowdrifts. And yeah, keeping your monthly expenses paid and knocking down that debt is important. But here's the problem. If you have absolutely nothing set aside, then one unexpected bill, one missed paycheck, or one emergency can throw you right back into survival mode. That's why even when money is tight, you need to start building a small buffer. And I'm not talking about a full emergency fund just yet. What I'm talking about is just enough to stop the cycle of panic. Set a small goal. What's the lowest bill that you struggle with every month? Is it the $50 water bill, the $150 electric, or something else? Start there. Save just enough to cover that one bill. Once you hit that goal, move on to the next one. The idea is to gradually build a buffer. First one bill, then 1 month expenses, then 3 months, and eventually even more. And this matters because when the unexpected bill pops up or your paycheck is lower than expected, you won't be left scrambling. You'll already have something set aside to catch you. And if you're wondering what happened when I paid my electric bill but didn't fill up the propane tank, well, the money I needed to finally fill it up came in. But by the time the propane company could deliver, we had already run out. So not only did we go 3 days without heat, but they also charged me an extra $25 for letting the tank go empty. If I'd had even a tiny buffer, I could have avoided all of that. Having this buffer is where you start to see daylight, where you stop living paycheck to paycheck and actually start getting ahead. I know these strategies work because I've used them myself and I've seen them help others get back on track. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, just take that first step. And if you're ready to move beyond just making ends meet, check out this video next. It'll show you how to create your own money loop so you can stop the cycle of just getting by and start building real financial freedom to create the life you truly want. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.